The fish who hated water. Once upon a time, in a sparkling blue lake, nestled deep within a lush green valley, there lived a fish unlike any other. Her name was Finley, and she was a bright little fish with scales that shimmered like 1,000 tiny rainbows. But there was something rather peculiar about Finley. She hated water. Now this might sound odd because, as everyone knows, fish live in water. Fish swim, play, and even sleep in water. The other fish in the lake loved darting through the cool, gentle waves, but not Finley. Every morning, when the sun's golden rays danced on the surface of the lake, Finley would sigh and grumble. "Oh, why must I live in this wet, splashy, slippery stuff? If only there was somewhere nice and dry for a fish like me." The other fish would giggle and shake their fins. "Oh, Finley, you're so silly. Water is wonderful. It's our home." But Finley would just swim away, finding a quiet corner under a lily pad where the water felt shallow and calm. Finley's dislike for water made her curious about the world above the lake. She would watch the dragonflies darting above the surface and the birds soaring high in the sky, their feathers never getting wet. Sometimes, she'd spot a turtle sunning itself on a rock, its shell glistening in the sunlight. "Now that looks lovely," thought Finley. No water splashing around, just warm sunshine and a nice dry rock. One day, as Finley was grumbling about her soggy life, an old wise catfish named Grandpa Bubbles swam by. His whiskers waved gently in the current, and his eyes twinkled with kindness. "Why the long face, Finley?" Grandpa Bubbles asked. "Oh, Grandpa Bubbles," Finley sighed. "I just wish I could live somewhere dry for a change. I'm tired of being wet all the time. Water is so watery." Grandpa Bubbles chuckled, sending a stream of tiny bubbles floating to the surface. I see," he said. "But have you ever wondered what life would be like if you could leave the water?" Finley's eyes grew wide. "Can I? Is it possible?" "Well," Grandpa Bubbles replied, "it's not easy for a fish, but perhaps, if you're clever and careful, you might learn something new." That night, Finley couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, thinking about what Grandpa Bubbles had said. What if I really could live outside the water? Maybe I'd be a happier fish. Maybe I'd find the perfect dry spot just for me. The next morning, Finley made up her mind. She would try to see what life was like above the lake. She swam to the shallowest part of the water, where the pebbles sparkled and the reeds tickled her fins. She wiggled and squirmed, trying to leap out like the frogs she'd seen. But every time she tried, she splashed right back into the water, even wetter than before. Just then, a friendly frog named Hopper hopped by. "Hey there, Finley," Hopper croaked. "What are you doing?" "I'm trying to get out of the water," Finley replied. "I want to see what it's like to be dry." Hopper smiled. "It's fun up here, but you're a fish. You need water to breathe. Why don't you come play near the surface with me? You can see the world above without leaving the water." Finley thought this was a good idea. She floated to the top of the lake and peeked out. The air felt cool and fresh, and she could see the fluffy clouds drifting by and hear the gentle rustling of the wind in the trees. But after a while, Finley began to feel tired. Her gills felt funny, and she missed the cool water flowing over them. She took a deep breath and dove back in, feeling much better as the water washed over her scales. Still, Finley wasn't ready to give up on her dream. She decided to visit the wise old turtle, Shelley, who lived on a sun-warmed rock near the shore. "Shelley?" Finley called. "How do you get to spend so much time in the sun without being in the water?" Shelley smiled slowly, blinking her kind old eyes. "Oh, Finley, I love both the sun and the water. I can go on land because I have lungs, but I always come back to the lake to swim and cool off. Water is special for us turtles, just as it is for you fish." Finley thought about this. Maybe water wasn't so bad after all, but she still wished she could try living on land, just for a little while. One afternoon, a big storm blew over the valley. The wind howled and the rain poured down, making the lake rise higher than ever before. The waves tossed Finley this way and that, and she felt even wetter than usual. "Oh, water! Water everywhere!" she cried. This is the worst. Suddenly, a strong current swept Finley toward the edge of the lake. Before she knew it, she was washed up onto the muddy shore. For the first time in her life, Finley was out of the water. At first, she felt excited. The mud was squishy, and the grass tickled her fins. But then, Finley realized she couldn't breathe. Her gills felt dry and tight, and her body began to ache. "Oh no," she gasped. "I need water." Just as Finley began to panic, she felt a cool, gentle splash. Hopper the frog had seen her and rushed over. With a great big leap, Hopper pushed Finley back into the lake. The water closed around her, cool and soothing, and Finley took a deep, happy breath. "Thank you, Hopper," Finley said when she caught her breath. "I thought I wanted to be dry, but I didn't realize how important water is for me." Hopper smiled. "We all belong where we are happiest and healthiest. For you, that's in the water. For me, it's both land and water. And for the birds, it's the sky." Finley realized that water wasn't just something to put up with. It was her home, her safety, and her life. From that day on, she stopped complaining about being wet and started to enjoy all the wonderful things about living in the lake. She played tag with the minnows, danced with the dragonfly's shadows, and explored the hidden corners of the underwater world she called home. Whenever she saw a bird soaring high or a turtle sunbathing on a rock, she smiled and knew they were happy in their own way, just as she was happier swimming and splashing with her friends. And whenever she met a grumpy fish who grumbled about the water, she would tell them her story with a twinkle in her eye. "Once, I was a fish who hated water, but now I know it's the best place for me to be." And so, Finley learned to love her watery world and lived happily ever after, swimming through rainbows of sunlight, surrounded by friends, laughter, and the gentle, life-giving water she once wished to leave behind. And in that sparkling blue lake, Finley's laughter could be heard, bubbling up to the surface, reminding everyone that sometimes what we think we don't like is exactly what we need most of all. Now, if you ever look into a pond or a lake and see a little fish swimming joyfully, remember Finley's story. She's the fish who learned to love the water, and she hopes you'll always find happiness right where you belong too.